Yeah, welcome back to another new session. Let us proceed our learning on Linux administration for DevOps. So as part of this, we'll be taking the next topic, which is user management. So we run our applications in our servers as a normal user. So knowledge on the user management is required. Okay, now let us put the hands on and try to understand how to create a user. Now I would like to bring out a small story and try to explain you before we proceed further. So like every state has got a chief minister who is the supreme power of the state. Okay, so he'll be having almost all the powers in his hands. So if his ministry part is shared to any of the MLAs in the cabinet, then the MLAs in the cabinet are called ministers. Okay, so you'll have few MLAs with the ministry as Minister for Health, Minister for Roads and Bridges, etc. And you'll also have other MLAs who are normal MLAs and who will not be part of the cabinet, so they are not called ministers. Okay, like how the chief minister is sharing his power called minister to the MLAs in the cabinet, so automatically they will become a ministers, right? The same way we will be having a root user also called pseudo user. Okay, like how chief minister is the supreme power for the state, in the Linux machine root user will have the supreme power to do any activity. Now when the root user who is having the pseudo power, when the pseudo power of the root user is shared with normal users, I mean to tell, if users with the pseudo power are there, then they are called pseudo users. So the example is, if you have a CentOS user, if a root user is sharing his pseudo power to the CentOS user, then he will become a pseudo CentOS user. Okay, the same way if the root user is sharing his pseudo power with a user called Vikram, then the Vikram will become pseudo Vikram. Clear? So what is the advantage of a user with a pseudo power is, so CentOS user with pseudo power can do almost all the activities, not all but almost many activities, most of the activities what a root user can do. Okay, the same way Vikram can also do almost major activities what a root user can do. Okay, because at the end the root user's power called pseudo is shared with the user called CentOS user and Vikram user. Okay, now like how you have a normal MLA who does not have any power, the same way you will be having in a Linux machine normal users who will not have any powers. Okay, the same example, if CentOS user does not have any power, he will just be a user with the name called CentOS. If a Vikram is there without any pseudo powers, then he will just be a normal user called Vikram. I mean CentOS user and Vikram user will not have any pseudo powers because the pseudo power of the root user is not shared with these users. I hope this story or concept must help you to understand. If you have a pseudo power to a user, then most of the activities what a root user can do, the pseudo user can also do. Okay, but if a user does not have a pseudo power, then he cannot do any admin level activities. Okay, so pseudo users can do admin level activities, not all but most of the admin level activities the pseudo user can do. Non pseudo user cannot do any admin level of activities. Clear? Now let us proceed further and start creating a user. Okay, so I want to create a user. So I mean to tell, creating a user is an admin activity. Okay, so who can create a user? A root user can create a user, or a normal user with pseudo power can create a user. Okay, but this user who does not have pseudo power cannot create a user. So if you want to create a user, only two options are available. You should either be a root user or you should be a normal user with sudo power. Okay, so I'll go with this supreme power of root user and try to create a user. Okay, so let us take it. So currently I am a CentOS user. In order to become a root user, what is the command? The command will be sudo sudo su. Type enter. So you see, you become a root user. So you can also check with the command called who am I. So who am I will tell you what user you are, and I am a root user. Okay, this is a command and this is a reply, root user. Now, so if you want to create a user, if you want to add a user, the first thing you should keep in mind is you need to first create a group. Okay, you need to first create a group. So in order to create a group, the command will be group add and the syntax, which is group name. Okay, so the syntax should be let me write this. There's a spelling mistake here. GROUP. Yeah, it is group add and the group name, whatever you want to give. Clear? So I'll name the group name as DevOps group. Okay, so let me first create the group name as DevOps. Okay, so I'm creating a group called DevOps group. The command is group add and this is the group name what I want to create. Now I'll type enter. Now you should check whether the group has been created or not. Okay, how will you check? So we have a command called cat command, and in the location called etc directory, in the etc directory there is a file called group file. Okay, so whatever groups you are creating here, the name of the group will be updated in this location. Okay, so if I say cat etc group and type enter, you see the group called DevOps is created. Okay, but reading all this file will be like a lengthy. So the shortcut is, we have learned something called pipes concept, right? You simply type pipe and say search. grep means should search for what you are searching for, the group name called DevOps. Okay, so the output of this command, rather than displaying on the screen like this, will become an input through the pipe, and grep will take the input from this command's output, and grep will search for the word called DevOps, and the reply should be there. Okay, now I'll type enter, just see. So this is the reply. So DevOps group has been created. Okay, the first step in creating a user is you need to first create a group. Okay, so let me clear the screen. We'll go with the second step. Now we already created a group called DevOps, right? So this is the group we created. Now to this group we'll add a user. So adding a user means indirectly you are creating a user also. So the syntax is this. So you'll say user add, and then you should say to which group you want to add the user. Okay, so I want to add the user to the group called DevOps. So I'll write here as DevOps, and what is the user name you want to create, or what is the username you want to add to this group. Okay, so the syntax is user add, and the option will be -g. Okay, -g and the group name followed by the username. Okay, so let me complete the syntax. So this is the syntax: user add -g followed by the group name and the username. So user add command will create a user, and the user created will be added to the group called DevOps group, or a particular group name, whatever you want to give. Okay, understand that the group should be in existence first, only then you can create a user. Clear? Now, so let me replace the syntax. the group name already I have it, right? This is a group name I want to replace here. So the group name will be DevOps group, and user add command, you need to create a user, right? So what is the user name you want to create? Okay, so I'll say the username as Vikram. Okay, now this user add command will create the user called Vikram, and also simultaneously the Vikram name or the Vikram user will be added to the group called DevOps. Okay, now type enter. So the user got created successfully, but in order to check whether the user is created or not, you have the command called id command. Okay, id command. So id, and you should say the username. Okay, id username is a syntax. In this username you need to replace with the user whatever you have created. Okay, then you will get a reply whether the user is created or not. Okay, so I will replace id and username I replace with Vikram. Okay, now see what is the reply? The user called Vikram has been created, and Vikram user has got a unique ID number which is 1002, and the Vikram user is now part of the group called DevOps. Clear? So see, this is what we have done. So the group called DevOps is there, and Vikram has been added to the group called DevOps. Clear? So the first step is you'll create a group, and then you'll check whether the group is created or not. Second step, you'll create a user and add the user to the group, and then you'll check whether the user is created or not. So the reply will be this, whether the user is created or not to a particular group. Clear? That's it. This is how you'll be creating a user. Clear? Now proceeding further, let me clear the screen. So now we have created the user called Vikram, right? So this is the user we have created called Vikram. Okay, that is fine. But creating user is not sufficient. You need to also add a password. So this is also an adminal activity. So who can allot password to the user called Vikram? If you are a root user, you can allot or you can add password to the user called Vikram, or else a CentOS user or any other user who is having the power of sudo can also add password to the user called Vikram. So currently I am in my machine as a user called root. So from this level I will try to allot password to the user called Vikram, and the syntax will be password, passwd, passwd, and you should say to which user you want to allot the password. Okay, so the command syntax will be passwd and the username for whom you want to allot the password. So in our case I want to allot password to the user called Vikram, so I will replace this with Vikram. So let me remove this and type enter. So automatically you see it is asking me to give a password here. So I'll write the password as 123 and I'll type enter. The password is shorter than 8 characters, it is saying, but that's not a problem. Ensure that when you are creating a password, maintain 8 characters. Okay, and it is asking me to retype the password. I'll retype the password again and type enter. So automatically the password got created for the user called Vikram, and this is the way you will be creating a password for user. Clear? Now going further, so we created a user called Vikram, right? But currently what user I am? So the command will be who am I to check what user I am. I am a root user. So what I want to do is I want to operate, or I want to shift from root user to Vikram. So the syntax will be su hyphen username. So su hyphen username, what will happen here when you type su hyphen username? automatically you can shift to a particular user of your requirement. So this username I will replace with the name called Vikram, whatever we have created here. Okay, so let me replace this with the name called Vikram and see what is going to happen now. So I want to shift from a root user to a user called Vikram. The syntax will be su hyphen and the username. In our case it is Vikram. Type enter. So automatically you are user Vikram. Just see here. Earlier, before applying this command, you are a root user. After applying this command, you are a user called Vikram. So how can you check that? By using the command called who am I. Just see, who am I? If I type, it is saying I am Vikram user. Clear? So this is a way you can shift from one user to other user. So if you see, I was jumping from root user to the user called Vikram. So as I said, root user is a supreme power. Okay. So when a supreme power is jumping to a normal user, automatically the machine will not ask for a password. Okay. But when you try to jump from a normal user to a root user, then it will ask for a password. Okay. Just see, su hyphen and the username. Okay. So in my case the username is root. See, it is asking me for the password. Okay. So I should type the password. If the password is correct, you will become a root user back. So you can check it by using a command called who am I. So it is saying that I am a root user. Clear? So this is what I demonstrated. Switching from one user to another user, the syntax is su hyphen username. Understand that as a root user, which is a supreme power, when you want to shift to another user, password is not required. You can directly jump. In our case, I jumped from root user to Vikram, so the password was not asked. But when I was jumping from a non-root user, in our case non-root user is Vikram. When I was jumping from a non-root user Vikram to a root user, password is required. Not only root user, to any other user also the password will be required. Okay. In my case, I was jumping from a normal user called Vikram to a root user, so the password was asked. But in case if you jump from Vikram user to any other user, earlier we were having a user called CentOS, right? Even if you try to jump to the user called CentOS, the password will be asked. Okay. So let me demonstrate that also. The syntax will be, now currently I am a root user, right? So what I will do is I will become a user called Vikram. I will jump or I will switch from root user to the user called Vikram. So automatically, as you are a root user, password will not be asked. Okay, just see. Okay, now I am a Vikram user. So if I apply who am I, the reply will be I am a user called Vikram. Now as a Vikram user, I want to jump to the user called CentOS. Okay, so su hyphen username is CentOS. Now see, what is the reply? It is asking me for a password. Only if you know a password, then you can start accessing the user called CentOS. Okay, so let me type the password which I have already allotted. See, now I am a CentOS user. So you can check using the command called who am I? I am a CentOS user. Clear? So now even a CentOS user, if he is trying to become a root user, password will be required. Even if a CentOS seeker, if he is trying to become a Vikram user, password will be required. Okay. So from the CentOS user, if I try to become a user called Vikram, the command will be su hyphen and the username called Vikram. Type enter. We have allotted password to Vikram, right? Few minutes back. The same password is what I will be using here. Okay. 123 is a password. So see, if the password is successful, I have become a user called Vikram. If I say who am I, it will say that I am a user called Vikram. Clear? This is how you will be switching from one user to another user. Clear? Yeah. Now if you see, currently as what user I am logged into the server. So in order to check that, we have a command called who am I. So I am a user called Vikram. So in organizations, frequently users will be changing the password. So if Vikram wants to change the password, okay, so the command will be passwd. Now type enter. If you see, it is asking for the current password. Only if Vikram knows his current password, only then he can change the password. Okay. So now let me type the current password. So now you see it is asking what is the new password I want to give. So let me type it. Now again it is asking to retype a new password. So this is how you will be changing the password. So I mean, this is how a user can change a password frequently, and the command is passwd. Clear? Now earlier when you were changing the password, you were asked for the current password. Only if you know the current password, then you can change the password. Now the scenario what I am going to tell you now is, what if user called Vikram forgot the current password? Okay, then who is going to help him? Automatically it is a supreme power called the root user, or any other user with sudo power can help Vikram to change the password or to create a new password. So what is the step? Immediately what Vikram should do is, Vikram should go and tell his root user or the admin that he forgot the password and he does not know what is his password, or else he can go and ask any other user with sudo power and tell him that he has forgot the password, or he does not know what is his password. Okay, so the immediate step what this user called root user or a normal user or the general user with sudo power, what they will do is, they should first log in to their machine, or they can use Vikram machine also and become a root user. Okay, so anyway the work should be done, but they should shift from Vikram and become a user called root user, or they should become a user with sudo power user. Okay, so in my case I will take the supreme power called root user. So I will say, how do you shift from one user to another user? The syntax is su hyphen and the user name, right? So in my case I want to take the help of root user, so I will say su hyphen root. Okay, now it will immediately ask me for the password because Vikram is shifting as a root user. So let me type the password and type enter. If the password is correct, I am a root user. How do I know that? If I say who am I, automatically it says I am a root user. So now I am a root user, and I said that, right, the Vikram came to us asking us or requesting us that he has forgot the password or he doesn't know the password. Now what I do is the same old command. What is how do you change a password for the user called Vikram? Okay, so the syntax is passwd and the username. This is the syntax. Now it is for the Vikram we have to change, right? So the username here I will replace with Vikram. Okay, so the advantage for the root user is, root user need not remember or need not go and search for Vikram's old password to change the password. Straight away, if you use passwd and the username, he can allot the password to the user called Vikram. Okay, so he will type the password, he will again retype the password. That's it. The password for the user called Vikram is ready, and I have given the password as 123 for the user called Vikram. Okay, this is the way you will use the scenarios as per the requirement. Okay, so we'll take up the next concept, which is called a daemon user or a function user. So before that, let me once again take back this image. So as discussed earlier, you will be having a root user who is admin for the entire Linux machine, and apart from the root user, you will also have another user like a CentOS user or a normal user like Vikram. The point to be noted here is this user should also have the power call sudo. Only then these users can do, these users in the sense this CentOS user or Vikram user, if a sudo power is given to them, then they can do admin level activities. Not entirely all activities, but to the extent required they can do. Okay. Now apart from the root user and normal user with sudo user, you will also have normal users without sudo power. Okay. So 1, 2 and 3. So apart from these three users, now you will be taking up the next user called a daemon or a functional user. So let us understand what is a daemon or a function user. So in the Windows machine, if you want to install any application, they are called softwares. In Linux, if you want to install any software, they are called as packages or applications. Okay, now every package on the Linux machine or every application on the Linux machine is not a service. I mean to tell, every package on the Linux machine is not developed as a service. So example of a package which is not a service are given here. So in the last session or few sessions back, we have seen how to edit the files, and we took the help of vim editor, right? So we need to first install vim editor, and a few operating systems like CentOS or Red Hat by default will come with this package called vim, but if required we can install it as per the need. Okay, so once a vim package is installed, only after installing the package then you can start editing the files. Okay, and we have also seen how to unzip a file, right? So in order to unzip a file, we should install unzip package. And do you remember the tree package? I have used a tree command while I was explaining you about this directory structure, right? In the Linux machine, if you want to see this directory structure inside the Linux machine, then I was using this tree package. So if you see the tree package, vim package or unzip package, all these three packages are all applications, or you can call them as packages, but they are not designed as a service. Okay, these are applications, but they are not designed as a service. Now I am going to talk about packages or applications which are designed as a service. Okay, so if a package is developed as a service, okay, then to run that package, the developer of the package will create the package in such a way that in order to run the package or the application, the package should run by a specific user, and that user will be called as functional or daemon user. Okay, so who is going to create the functional or daemon user, right? In order to run the package, you should be a specific user. I mean, you should be a functional user or a daemon user. But who is going to create that functional user or daemon user? So during installation of the application or the package, which is of the type service on the Linux server, the developer of the package will create the package in such a way that the user will get created. Such type of user who are getting created to run the application are called as functional or daemon user. So I have an example here which talks about packages or applications which are developed as a services. So I have a web server. So for the web server, we have an application which is developed as a package which is called Apache. For the application server, you have a package or an application which is developed as a service, that is Tomcat. I have a DB server here, for which the application or the package which is developed as a service, which is MariaDB. So I think you should be clear by now. The summary is, whenever you come across any package in a Linux machine, that package can be developed as a service or might not be developed as a service. If it is not developed as a service, these are the examples. If the package is developed as a service, these are the examples here. Now let us take the hands-on this particular packages which are developed as a service and see how the daemon or function users will look. Okay. Now I am in my machine. I'll do an ls. Yeah. So I would like to bring a point to you here very clearly. So please understand that. So a root user by default will have all the 100% admin level permissions. Okay. So now suppose a CentOS user, if you want to give him a sudo power, sudo means a root level of power. If you want to give to a CentOS user a sudo level of power, or to a Vikram if you want to give sudo level of power, the allotting power or activating power to the CentOS user, the power called sudo, or activating to the Vikram user sudo power. Okay, this topic will be dealt in detail separately. Okay, but currently my machine CentOS user has already been allotted the power of sudo. So that is what I am trying to make it clear. Okay, so let me bring up a file. So I have a file already here, which is a shell file. This is the name of the file. Its extension is ending with .sh, which means it is a bash script or a shell scripting file. I'll copy this file and I want to show you what is inside this file. I want to read it. Okay, so this is the content which is getting displayed on the screen. So if you see closely, I am installing Apache, Tomcat and database called MariaDB. So this is a web server, application server, database server. I am installing it. And after installing, as I said, these applications or packages are developed as a service. So I have to start each service separately. So I am starting each service separately using the systemctl command. Okay. So what is yum command, what is systemctl command will again take as part of the Linux administration a separate session, and I will make you understand it separately. But the point I want to drive you is, if you see, I am doing an installation here. So whenever you are doing any installation on the machine or the server, who is having the rights? Only the root user will have the right, or else if any user for whom sudo power is allotted, he will have the right. If CentOS user is having the sudo power, he will have the right to install application. If Vikram user is having the right of sudo, he will have the permission to install the application. But a normal user cannot do any admin level activities like installing, uninstalling, updating the applications and all. Okay. So I mean to tell, my CentOS user has been allotted, has been already been given the power of sudo. So allotting a power of sudo to a particular user is a completely different learning which you have to do separately. I will train you as part of the Linux administration in the upcoming sessions. But now I want to run these commands. So in order to run these commands, so this is a command 1, command 2, command 3, command 4. So when you arrange the command orderly and you paste it inside a shell file, then when you run this shell file, automatically first this command will get implemented, followed by the second, followed by the third, followed by the fourth. All the 4 commands will get implemented or executed. So now let me implement this one file. So automatically all these 4 commands will get executed. Okay. So let me copy this file name and run this shell based file. So I think we have already shown you in the last session how to run a shell script file. So the command will be bash and the file name. Okay. So as I said, what is happening in this file? Installation. When installation is happening, obviously you should either be a root user. So am I a root user now? No, I am a non-root user. So what user I am here? I am a CentOS user. So when you are a CentOS user, that particular user should have a sudo power. So I have already said, right, the sudo power is already given to this user. So in order to activate or in order to do this installation by activating this file, okay, I should add sudo to this command. Okay, so this is the way I add sudo to the command. See, in the very beginning of the line here, I will say sudo, and if I press enter, automatically the installation will happen. So one more point to be noted here, if you see, there is an installation happening of 3 particular packages which are of the type services, but you don't see any processes like installation happening on the screen. The reason is because of this diversion. There is a diversion happening here. I am diverting the output to a separate location called dev null. So this entire task is part of the shell scripting, which will be learned, which I will be training you later, so that there you will have a clarity. But this entire series is on Linux and Linux administration, not shell scripting. Shell scripting will be trained separately. Now, the installation has been finished and the services might have already been started. So how will you check whether this service is being run by a user called Apache, this service is run by a user called Tomcat, and this service is run by a user called MariaDB? How will you check that these services are run by a daemon or a function user? That is what I am trying to tell. Okay. For this you have a command called ps-ef, and I don't want to print this output on the screen, so I'll divert the output using the pipe, and this output of this command I'll put as an input to the next command, which is called grep command. Okay. What is it I want to grep? I want to grep for Apache. Okay, Apache. Okay, see. So if you see, the service is running as a user called Apache, and these are the process IDs. Clear? Now, so this is called the functional or the daemon user. Clear? The same way we'll check for the next service. The next service name is Tomcat. Okay, now see, this service of Tomcat is also running as a user of Tomcat, and this is what I am talking about, the daemon or the function user. Okay, so the point to be noted here is, if you are dealing with an application of the type service, then the application will be running as a user called daemon or function user. In our case, this is an application related to Tomcat, so it is running with the name called Tomcat user, and this is application related to Apache, and it is running with the daemon or function user with the name called Apache. Clear? So the point I want everyone to understand is, so the user called Tomcat or the user called Apache, who is creating these users? So we are not creating the users. Okay, we never created these users. So how are they getting created? So as I said earlier, just have a look. So the developer of the package, okay, so the developers of the package will create the package in such a way that the user will get created. Clear? The user will get created. So why am I highlighting this sentence is, we are not creating the user, but the developer of the package will create the package in such a way that when the package is getting installed on the Linux server, automatically the user will also get created. Clear? That's it. So that is for today's session. Wish you a happy and continuous learning. Till then, have a good day.